In my culture, a woman's value is based on her marital status and ability to have children, rather than her personal achievements or career success. From a young age, we were conditioned to believe that the only way to secure our future was to find a husband. Even having a PhD holds little worth. Today is Sadia's wedding day, and the whole village is buzzing with excitement. Everyone's face is lit up with joy, except for mine. Why? Because Sadia is only 13 years old. Instead of focusing on her education, she is being forced into a marriage she is not prepared for, all in the name of tradition. You can imagine the disgust on my face right now. It's as if I just smelled my wicked stepmother's pot of rotten bean stew. I come from Jari village, where a woman's biggest power is her ability to marry. And to marry, she has to be fat. The bigger a woman is, the more beautiful and desirable she is considered to be. The ideal body type for a woman in Jari was to have a soft, cascading stomach flab, overlapping thighs, and a neck adorned with thick ripples of fat. However, the ultimate symbol of beauty and attractiveness were stretch marks. Women with visible stretch marks on their arms were highly sought after, like prized maidens in a competition. In Jari culture, female obesity is a symbol of status and wealth for men, while being thin implies that a woman's husband cannot afford to provide for her sufficiently. It's been 13 odd years since my escape from Jari when I was only 12 years old. As I return today, I am determined to share my story with whoever is willing to listen and ignite a revolution of change that will impact generations to come. My name is Amina, and this is my story. Jari is a small village located in the heart of West Africa, surrounded by lush greenery and stunning natural beauty. The sky is painted with vibrant shades of orange and red as the sun sets, a sight that always leaves one in awe. The village is blessed with abundant resources, making it a haven for its residents. We have our own waterfalls that provide us with fresh water, and there is an abundance of wild fruits and vegetables that grow in the surrounding forests. This allows us to live off the land and be self-sufficient. But what sets Jari apart from other villages is its popular Tuesday market. This is when traders from far and near come to trade in livestock, including goats, chickens, and cows. The market is bustling with energy as people haggle over prices and barter for goods. Growing up in Jari, I used to love visiting the market with my mother. It was always a colourful affair, with women dressed in their vibrant traditional clothes and men showcasing their prized animals. The men are mainly involved in livestock farming, taking great care of their herds of cattle and goats. They possess strong and muscular physiques, like that of warriors who had spent years working hard under the scorching sun. On the other hand, the women embody beauty and grace. Their ebony skin glowed like polished mahogany, and their eyes sparkled like precious gems. These women did not have access to education, but they were skilled in running their households and raising their children with tender love and wisdom passed down through generations. In Jari, a woman's worth is determined by her size, which ultimately represents the space she occupies in her husband's heart. There is even a proverb in Jari that asserts that a woman will fill up as much of her man's heart as she does his bed. Growing up, my father was a wealthy livestock farmer who had 2 wives. My family shared a spacious house that not only housed my immediate relatives, but also various members of our extended family, including uncles, aunties, cousins, and grandparents. Some of my fondest memories from childhood are the lively events held in our compound, weddings, family gatherings, and religious celebrations. The women in our family would dress in vibrant attire and gather under the towering baobab tree to cook scrumptious meals in large clay pots. As they expertly chopped, seasoned, and stirred, the air was filled with mouth-watering aromas. While they chatted and laughed, the younger women would sit close by, braiding each other's hair as they prepared for the festivities. Meanwhile, the children would run around the compound, playing games like hide and seek, laughter filling the air. On a scorching sunny day, a few days before my 12th birthday, my father entertained a group of significant guests. They arrived bearing presents of cola nuts, sacks of salt, and other customary items. As they gathered under the shelter of a massive mango tree, they munched on the cola nuts and conversed over drinks. They were diligent in swatting away the pesky flies that circled around the drinks. My mother and aunts huddled together, listening in on the conversation between the visitors and my father and uncles. They whispered amongst themselves, occasionally peeking over at the shed where my cousins and I were washing dishes. As the sun disappeared over the horizon and our guests departed, my mother turned to me with a smile. "You'll be going away for a few days to meet other girls and indulge in sweet treats," she said. Every so often, a few of my cousins were taken away for a short period, leaving me confused and curious about why they were chosen. I couldn't help but wonder why I had never been selected for these trips. But finally, my turn came, and I was filled with excitement at the thought of making new friends and having an amazing time. My mother assured me that when I returned home, I would have grown into a beautiful young woman. After a few days passed, I found myself sitting at a crowded breakfast table in a thatched hut on the outskirts of the village. There were numerous other young girls with me, all ranging from 7 to 12 years old, being looked after by a group of older women. My stomach was already uncomfortably full from a heavy meal of goat's milk and oily rice, but the women were not finished feeding us yet. The next course was a sticky mixture of dates, peanuts, millet, and oil formed into egg-shaped balls. We were expected to eat around 40 of these sweet balls every day, along with 12 pints of goat's milk and porridge. I struggled to finish the thick porridge, but we had no choice. An older woman dressed in yellow abaya threatened us with her long cane if we refused the meal. And if anyone vomited, they were forced to eat their own vomit. Exhausted from breakfast, we lay down in the cramped hut while our bodies tried to digest the overwhelming amount of food. A woman in yellow abaya turned to her colleague and pointed at the girl next to me, saying, "Her parents have arranged a marriage for her already, so she must gain weight quickly by consuming cups of pure animal fat." As the words sunk in, my heart seemed to stop beating for a moment, and everything clicked together. It dawned on me that the strangers who had visited my father a few days ago were actually potential suitors seeking my hand in marriage. That explained why we were sent to this remote and desolate location. It was all part of an archaic custom called le bleu, where young girls are forced to gain weight in order to be seen as suitable wives. This practice is often associated with child marriage, as it speeds up puberty and makes young girls appear more mature. Girls as young as 7 are subjected to excessive amounts of food and liquid under the watchful eyes of older family members at either at home or specialized fattening farms, where they are monitored by women known as fatteners. These fatteners take pride in their jobs and receive bonuses for creating stretch marks, seen as a symbol of success in gaining weight. They use harsh methods to ensure the girls continue eating. Young girls who refuse to eat are subjected to cruel and inhumane punishment, even though it put their health at risk. One method involves using 2 sticks to create pressure on the toes, causing immense pain if the child does not comply with eating or drinking. Another method involves physically crushing their feet until they finish their meal. Some girls are even tied down and forced to consume their own vomit if they do not eat properly. In addition, some may have their fingers or toes broken as a distraction while being force-fed milk and porridge. These girls are isolated and manipulated into believing that being thin is unacceptable, their only purpose being to bear children and serve as a soft, plump bed for their future husbands. A typical daily diet for a 7-year-old may consist of 2 kilograms of ground millet mixed with 2 cups of butter and 20 liters of camel's milk. As a result, girls as young as 12 may weigh up to 80 kg. By the time they turn 15, these girls could look much older and mature than their actual age due to this extreme diet. Despite many girls strongly disliking this abusive and harmful tradition, they are often left with no other option but to conform to society's harmful ideal. They are made to believe that there is no other way to guarantee a successful future for themselves. The traumatic experiences of my sister Aisha and cousin Zainab continue to haunt me to this day. The image of my sister slowly suffocating as she was force-fed at home is etched into my mind. My aunties would prepare an entire sheep in oil and butter, expecting her to finish it in a week. When she couldn't, they would forcefully shove the food down her throat and make her wash it down with camel's milk. The memories of her struggling to breathe still haunt me. She was only 10 years old at the time. And then there was my cousin and best friend, Zainab, who was married off on her birthday. She was 12 years old at the time. By the age of 16, she had already given birth to 2 children and was carrying her third. Tragically, she passed away from complications during childbirth. When I realized that I had been brought to a fattening farm in preparation for my own forced marriage, I knew I had to take action. I refused to become a child bride and give up my dream of becoming a nurse. Amidst the silence that enveloped the farm, I laid wide awake, my mind racing with fear and determination. Escape was my only option, my only chance at reclaiming my freedom and pursuing my dreams beyond the confines of tradition. As the night wore on, I carefully plotted my escape, waiting for the right moment when the watchful eyes of the fatteners were momentarily diverted. I waited until the village was shrouded in darkness. With a pounding heart and trembling hands, I slipped out of the hut, every step heavy with the weight of uncertainty. The darkness was both my ally and my adversary, shrouding me in secrecy, but also hindering my vision as I navigated through the unfamiliar road. Every rustle of the leaves, every snap of a twig, sent a shiver down my spine, fearing discovery at any moment. But I pressed on, driven by the burning desire for freedom and the promise of a better future. And then, just as dawn began to break, I stumbled upon a van with its headlights casting an eerie glow in the darkness. With a surge of adrenaline, I sprinted towards it, my heart pounding in my chest like a drumbeat of freedom. The door creaked open, and I saw some Catholic nuns who occasionally visited the village for medical outreach. Without looking back, I leapt inside, the van roaring to life as we sped off. In the safety of the van, I found solace in the presence of the nuns who had become my unlikely savior. Theirs gentle smiles and reassuring words offered me comfort as we journeyed far from the confines of Jari village. With each passing mile, I felt a glimmer of hope flicker within me, a beacon guiding me towards a future untainted by the shadows of my past. We journeyed through rough landscapes and meandering paths, our end goal uncertain, but our mission clear. With the sunrise casting a warm glow over the sky, we finally reached our destination, a secluded convent, far from the constraints of societal norms. With the support of the nuns and their unwavering guidance, I embarked on a journey of healing and self-discovery, determined to reclaim the life that had been stolen from me. And as fate would have it, I was awarded a scholarship to study nursing abroad, opening doors to a world of endless possibilities and newfound freedom. Years passed, and I immersed myself in my studies, fueled by a thirst for knowledge and a burning desire to break free from the chains of oppression. My passion for learning and independence drove me forward, but my heart never forgot about home, where girls were still trapped under the weight of outdated customs. It's been 13 years since I left my village in search of safety and a brighter future. And now, with the knowledge and wisdom gained from studying abroad, I have returned home to ignite a revolution for change. The sun beat down on my skin as I stood in front of the small, dilapidated building that served as the community centre in Jari village. My heart raced with equal parts excitement and apprehension, knowing that the words I was about to speak would bring about drastic change in the lives of the women and girls in this village. I took a deep breath and stepped inside, greeted by familiar faces staring back at me with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. As I made my way to the center of the room, I could feel their eyes following me intently, waiting for me to speak. "My sisters," I began, "I have returned after many years away, and today I come with a message of hope and determination." The room fell silent as all eyes focused on me, waiting for me to continue. "I stand before you today, not just as one person, but as the voice of many whose voices have been silenced for far too long. Our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, they all suffer under the weight of outdated traditions that strip them of their dignity and their right to choose." As I spoke of the dangers of force-feeding young girls in order to make them more desirable for marriage and about child marriage itself, gasps could be heard throughout the room. But I didn't stop there. I know firsthand how these traditions can destroy lives, but I also know what it means to break free from them. It may not be easy or painless, but it is possible. With each word spoken, my confidence grew stronger, as did my resolve to spark change in this village. And when I finished speaking, there was a moment of silence before something miraculous happened. One by one, the women and girls in the room began to stand up and share their own stories of suffering and oppression under these archaic traditions. With tears in their eyes and voices trembling with emotion, they spoke of the physical and emotional pain they had endured in the name of tradition. Some had been forced into marriage at a young age, while others were still living under strict rules that deprived them of education and freedom. But amidst all the pain and suffering, there was also a sense of determination and hope in their words. They were no longer willing to remain silent victims. They wanted change. I listened intently, my heart swelling with pride at their bravery. and as each woman finished speaking, I could feel the weight of tradition slowly lifting off their shoulders. When all had shared their stories, we gathered together in a circle, holding hands in solidarity, and with a unified voice, we made a pledge to fight against these harmful traditions that had held us captive for so long. Together, we would break free from these chains and create a better future for ourselves and our daughters. As the meeting came to an end, I knew that this was only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, resistance from those who were not ready for change, but we were prepared to face them head on. The weeks that followed the meeting were a blur of activity and determination. We had made a promise to each other to stand up against these harmful traditions and fight for our rights as women. We started by organizing a peaceful protest in the village square. Women and girls from all corners of the village came together, holding placards and chanting slogans demanding an end to child marriage and force feeding. The men looked on with curiosity as we marched through the streets. I couldn't help but feel a sense of empowerment wash over me. Once we reached the village square, we took turns speaking about our experiences and why we were standing up against these traditions. The crowd grew larger with each passing minute, until it seemed like the whole village had gathered around us. It was then that I made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the community. We refuse to perform our wifely or motherly duties until these harmful traditions are abolished, I declared, looking boldly at my fellow protesters. The gasps from the crowd were audible as they struggled to comprehend what I had just said. It was unheard of for women to defy their roles as wives and mothers. But we were determined to make our voices heard. We would no longer be prisoners in our own homes, forced into marriages at a young age, or subjected to cruel practices in order to conform to society's ideals of beauty. We went on strike for several days, refusing to cook, clean, or care for our husbands. As a result, chaos reigned in our homes as we neglected our usual duties and left them to the men. We dedicated our time to protesting and attending meetings where we collaborated on ways to achieve our goals for change. Slowly but surely, word began to spread beyond our village walls. Our small protest had turned into a movement, and people from neighboring villages started to take notice. As our movement gained momentum, it caught the attention of the government. They sent representatives to our village to understand the reason behind our protest and to find a resolution. After much deliberation, we agreed to a meeting with the chief and his kingsmen, along with officials from the government. They arrived in our village square with stern faces and intimidating bodyguards. But we stood tall, determined to make them see the injustice that we had been subjected to for so long. We presented our demands: an end to child marriage, force feeding, and other harmful traditions against women and girls. We also demanded equal access to education, a privilege that had long been denied to us. The chief and his kingsmen were taken aback by our boldness. They had always seen us as submissive and obedient, never questioning their authority. But they soon realized that they had underestimated us. We were no longer willing to accept their outdated beliefs and practices. After hours of heated discussions and negotiations, they finally agreed to abolish these harmful traditions in our village. The local government also promised to provide resources for educational programs for both boys and girls. We could hardly believe what was happening. Our small protest had sparked change at a higher level. Through our collective strength and unwavering determination, we ushered in a new era for Jari village, where women were no longer relegated to the shadows, but stood proudly as equals alongside their male counterparts. And though our journey was fraught with challenges and obstacles, we emerged victorious, our spirits unbroken and our resolve unwavering. Today, as I stand before my loved ones, ready to embark on a new chapter of my life, I feel a sense of profound gratitude and joy. At the age of 25, I am marrying the man of my choice, a partner who respects and cherishes me for who I am, not for the size of my body or the conformity to archaic traditions. Love is gentle. It knows no bounds. It transcends the superficial and the temporary, embracing flaws and imperfections with grace. Love is patient. It understands that growth and change are part of the journey. It is kind, offering support and comfort in times of need. Love is resilient. It stands firm in the face of challenges, emerging stronger with each trial. It is selfless, putting the happiness and well-being of another above its own. Love is pure. It seeks nothing in return, finding joy in the simple act of giving. It knows no limitations, no prejudices, no conditions. Love is infinite, an enduring force that binds hearts and souls together in a timeless embrace. Love is not just a feeling, but a commitment, a promise to cherish and uphold each other every single day. In a world that often seems uncertain, I am certain of this. Our love will last forever, a beacon of hope and unwavering strength for all to see.